Peace. Welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about the latest around the sister Carlee Russell, who has been officially found guilty. She is looking to serve at 1 year prison, a 1 year sentence in prison. Do you think this is just? We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, we're going to be discussing cultivating new solutions for food insecurity as we check in with the CEO of Urban Growers Collective, Ms. Erica Allen. She's going to be joining us. And then for our big culture convo, let's talk about what's going on with Morgan State University. It has been reported that the HBCU is going to build a wall around campus to keep their students safe, but it's been some issues and understanding what does it mean to have a wall. I'm gonna share with you the latest on that. And of course, later on, we're gonna talk about how one black student who was suspended for his hair situation is now ending up in an alternative school. Yeah, stay with me. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Oh, man, what a day we got for you folks. All right, let's jump right in as we're streaming live on various platforms. Definitely check us out on our home platform at blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com. Did I tell you what the address, the website is? Okay, blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you download the app for free. Follow us on all social media. And of course, make sure you give something to continue to power the digital movement for Black media. We're streaming there. We're also streaming on Amazon News on your Fire TV. So make sure you check us out there. We're also streaming on Plex TV, where you can find us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So make sure you check us out there. We're also on Amazon Prime Video now. So that can be found on Prime Video app under Live TV. Then you go to news or find us at Amazon.com under Prime Video Live TV, and then go to news and you can find us there. And then we're also on Freevee. You can find us on Freevee just to check out on now. And then boom, guess what, folks? News will pop up and this guy, Black Star Network, will be popping up right there. So we got a lot of places where you can find us. And of course, we're on social media as we're streaming live under Roland Martin on his social media page, Roland Martin on Facebook, and on YouTube. You can find us there on YouTube at Run the Roland Martin. And that's where you'll also find the illustrious, the dynamic, the unforgettable, the undeniable culture crew who is checking in from all across the country. All right, so let me just share with everybody where we are with this situation with Carlee Russell. As we know that she was the sister that came up with that fantastical hoax of her seeing a baby on the side of the road, and then she tried to, save this baby, and then she got out the car. She was kidnapped by some woman and a man, and it just got into a whole figure. She was thrown in the back of an 18-wheeler, and then it was a lot. It was definitely a lot. Well, folks, it looks like after all of that brouhaha, and more importantly, the embarrassment that she has caused herself and her family, she has gone to trial, and she has officially pled not guilty to one count of false reporting to law enforcement authorities and one count of falsely reporting an incident. Her judge had found her guilty, and she was sentenced to spend a year in jail and pay nearly $18,000 in restitutions, according to the reports. Now, her lawyer, Emory Anthony, said that she does not object to paying the restitution, saying, quote, "I think anything is fair when it comes to restitution with the expenses that were done. So we have to say that it's fair. Anytime you assert restitution, it has to be proven. The amount 17,000 and some hours spent, I would think that would be fair." He also said that his client had apologized for what she has done, and he wants to make sure her mental state is just fine. But she also said they don't want her to serve 1 year in prison. Well, she did falsify a police report, folks, and she did use resources, police resources that could have been used in other places for this situation, right? I mean, paying the money is one thing, but do you think that her actions deemed, would cause her to she should be punished. I want to get your take on this very quickly, folks, as we are checking in. And I see all of my great culture crew, Willie Frazier, good afternoon. Happy Thursday, big brother. Pastor Damon Blissett at the Block Church is in the chat. Jewel Vance, I see you, sis. Thank you for checking in. Conference Start, big brother, good connect with you. Pauline, I see you. Thank you for connecting. Cindy D, I got you. Hello, Cindy. Hello, Tiana. Good to connect with you once again. My brother, Gregory Walker Sr., good afternoon, sir. Who else is in the chat? Robin, I see you, Robin Welch. Anastasia, peace and love to you too, Anastasia. And Keisha Poole, hey, culture family, hey, Keisha. But what y'all think on this? Do y'all think that that she should be doing any time in prison? 1 year, a couple of months? What you thinking? What would be? I'm gonna be honest with you. I think she should serve something. I don't want to see the sister. I really want the sister to get some help. So if she's going to be in a low, I mean, she should be something. She should be held accountable. Paying the money is one thing. She really had Black America thinking a lot of stuff, folks. So, maybe a low-level situation where she can finally get her help. Now, her lawyer, I think, is pretty interesting that he's talking about he wants to make sure that her mental state is like, well, why didn't we? I mean, I don't know. The mental state should have been questioned beforehand. Darlene Crichessley, thank you for checking in. You asked if she's in jail, how's she going to pay the money? I have no idea, Darlene. I have no idea. That's a great question. Like 17,000, 18,000. Maybe she doesn't have a job at this point. So I don't know. She doesn't have to be in a prison though. You all see what I'm saying? I don't want this to be like she's in Rikers or something. But the simple fact of her just holding her accountable, because that put I'm not thinking about just her. I'm thinking about the other Black women who are coming behind her, who have real stories of pain and abduction and kidnapping and being missing and all of that, and they are not being believed. So she should be held accountable for putting those women, those real victims, in harm's way. McCall, you checked in and said 30 days in jail and pay the fine for Carlee. Okay, 30 days. Okay. All right, I hear you. Cindy, you said, is it her first offense? She needed a mental program. Why wasn't she evaluated? That's why I asked the question about, Cindy. If this was her first offense, and it sounds like it was, but why didn't he give her help beforehand? Good question. You don't like my music. You say prison helps no one. I'm not going to be in complete agreement with that. I think that if you do, like I said, low level, some spaces like correctional facilities actually offer resources and some guidance. And just the fact of being in there, even if it's for 30 days, just the fact of simply being in there will kind of wake you up from this dream that you were in. So I think that's one of the things. Damon, Pastor Damon, you said, yes, she has to do some time. What a shame. I hear that, Pastor. I hear that. I think she should do some time, but she should make sure the time should not be a situation where it's like long and everything. Just she needs enough time to recover from whatever mental health issue she's having, right? So maybe she's not in prison, but maybe she goes to some special center. Like something is inherently wrong. So I don't want her to go to prison and then she comes out and she lies again, like Representative George Santos. Who did I say that out loud? Yeah, I did say. Tamir Cousins, you checked in. Pay the fine, but no jail time. All right, Tamir. I mean, she got everybody worrying though. And again, I'm looking at from this point forward, will the voice of Black women be taken seriously? And I think that she's adding to the culture of that not happening. So that's what I'm more concerned about. Deidre, you checked in. She should do community service, not a jail cell. She should definitely do community service. She should pay the money, but I think she should do just something. Again, low level, but she needs to just kind of be removed from society and get her mind right for the meantime. Darlene, you said, can she get mental health in jail? Not, like I said, some prisons, it depends on where she goes. I think it depends on where she goes. Cheryl Jones, you checked in and said, take the punishments. A year, 18,000. Okay, I hear you, Cheryl. Thank you for checking in. And Robin, you said there was a GoFundMe. They raised over $60,000. That's why she's not worrying about the pay. Well, if that's the case, they should not allow her to have access to that money because she lied. People give people do these GoFundMe, right? And people give, like, we don't have money to just throw away, especially in a case like this. And if somebody cares for you in 2023, take that seriously, folks. Don't act as if that's a small time thing, because people have chosen not to care about people in a lot of ways. So definitely. And Keisha, you said she needs some mental health attention and then community service in those areas she exploited, i.e. missing and exploited children. That's a good lesson. I like that, Keisha. I really like that. Thank you for checking in on that. Deborah Swain, you said, what about all the Karens that made false reports but didn't get any kind of punishment? Why we have different laws for us and different laws for them? I think they should be in jail too. But the reason I'm saying we got to set a precedent, and I don't want our standard to be, well, if it slides in white America, it should slide in black America. No. I don't think that's a good precedent for us to stand. I think our precedent and our boundary should be, if it's wrong, it's wrong. You should be punished for doing something wrong, instead of saying, well, if white people can do it, then we should be able to do it. No, I think if it's wrong, you're wrong. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about how we're going to create some new solutions around this larger issue of food insecurity. I'm going to be checking in with the CEO of Urban Growers Collective and talk about the work that they're doing. I'm going to check in with Miss Erica Allen. And of course, we're going to have that conversation up next. Plus, I got something for y'all, man. Definitely got something for you. I want to just let y'all know. Y'all, the official announcement has been set. We have to get all the pieces in place. The Black Men Summit is happening. Stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. Sweetheart, you can't play right there, baby.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. All right, let's talk about something that is very, very important that we need to talk more about, which is this issue of food. Now, we always discuss the foods that we eat. We discuss the cost of food, but now we're getting to a point where food has become such a hot commodity in the country that it has created new discussions about the importance of health and wellness. And as we are seeing within, especially within the Black community, there are a number of places and spaces around this country where we find a high concentration of Black and brown folks. But let's start with Black folks who are living in neighborhoods where they don't have the proper access to food. And if they do have the proper access to food, it may not be the best quality food. And so we want to continue to have these discussions to talk about how folks are changing the narrative, but more importantly, change the dynamics of power when it comes to the food system and making sure that we do have food security. And so that's the great work that my guest is working on. She serves as the CEO of Urban Growers Collective, which is a Black and women-led nonprofit farm in Chicago, working to build a more just and equitable local food system. And so they're looking to address the inequities and structural racisms that exist in the food system and in communities of color. And so we welcome her to the airways of Black Star Network and to the culture, my sister, Erica Allen. Peace, Erica. How are you, sis?
Peace, Alafia. I'm good. Really glad to be here and to be in this conversation with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. So I wanted to have this discussion because Urban Growers Collective, y'all actually were part of can we say like an international gathering with the Clinton Global Initiative. This is where I first, saw the name of the UGC. And I was thinking to myself, like, we need to talk to them. I specifically wanted to talk to you because I was like, I wonder what are the conversations like on that level, and that we may not be having on the grassroots community level. So first and foremost, talk to us about that experience of being a part of the Clinton Global Initiative.
It was amazing just to, I'm a grassroots operator. And so everything, as a farmer, as a daughter of a farmer and farming family, legacy, an ancestral lineage that is rooted in earth-based solutions to building society, and to have been doing this work of having the privilege of working in my communities on the south and west side of Chicago, supporting work in Milwaukee, and then doing national and international work of really creating the space of acknowledging the power of community-based food systems to be at a point where Urban Growers Collective, which is a not-for-profit that I co-founded, to introduce the Green Era Campus, to introduce a system of being able to grow food however we want to grow food, backyards, on porches, and community gardens, for mutual aid, or for profit, using technology, or just ancient practices of being able to close the loop on our food waste, to create more food, to go back to creating more fertility, to continue perpetually always having the nutritional density that we need to be healthy and thriving, and to have as the root of our economic systems. We've always been a land, earth-based people. All indigenous peoples are, and we derive our wealth from the earth and from the sea. So it is our responsibility, especially in this age of climate change, to begin looking at how we can solve for these complex issues and also heal from our trauma and misuse of our talents within the agricultural sector. So I was there kind of representing that, and also...
That's the first thing. Why you act like, Erica, that's a small thing? I just did that a little bit. That's just nothing major. Just on a world stage representing Black folks that don't have that access.
I was just there. So I was in the mix. It was my first one. I think it definitely felt auspicious in the context of the UN General Assembly was meeting, and it was also Climate Week. And I think that the work that we do, and I say it collectively here in Chicago, and I think globally, definitely nationally, with the network of folks who have been just really creating space for us to heal from our trauma around ag, but also looking at reclaiming our connection to land in meaningful ways. So it felt good to be aligned, but also very urgent in the sense that folks need to really reconsider their relationship with the food system and the ways that we can engage in this global conversation around
Yeah.
mitigation. And I was part of that. So it felt good, and I felt well prepared to be in the conversation.
So by you, Erica, having, being in that conversation, what did you find? Did you find that there is a pattern of insecurity among Black and Brown, communities throughout the world, throughout the country? Like, what were some of the big things that you gleaned from that gathering?
I think when we have, just moving aside from food, and we look at economic systems that exploit environment and people's labor, especially in the developing world, that impacts women and children primarily. And when my takeaway, and this was the theme of throughout the Clinton Global Initiative and many conversations around addressing root causes of poverty, we have to move into economies of care. So thinking about care in terms of how we care for each other, how we care for our elders, how we care for our young, how we care for the vulnerable, how within our lifetime, we will all have to either be cared for or we will be caring for others. And why is that not the centerpiece of our economic systems? And so if we shift our thinking, and we have to, because we're in climate change, a lot of the things that we have been able to do, I just say we in the kind of, as a resident of the planet, we are all at this point complicit with extractive economic systems. We want cheap and fast. Everybody wants a good deal. Everybody wants to be a billionaire. Like, this is the ethos that we're kind of working ourselves out of, to thinking about what is going to be needed to have a peaceful, equitable, and just society. And what does that mean in rescripting climate economies? So I can't really separate the question from, like food. Like, if you don't have food, you don't have a civilization. If you don't have nutritionally dense food and control of your food system, you're not free. You're dependent on externalities, and externalities weaken a community, weaken a family, weaken a nation, all of it. And we have, unfortunately, I think as a culture, have valued things that are not in our best interest for a variety of reasons that I do not judge, but I definitely think is something that I'm hoping the listeners will consider, just those small things that make us, we know are good for us, that we just connect in some way with growing and the earth. And some of the things that may be painful because our ancestors were displaced from our family lands through terror, discrimination, all kinds of things that are really hard, I think, for people to even acknowledge within their own ancestral lineages, that it's time for us to really look at that, not only for our own health, but, just to participate in climate mitigation.
Let me ask you this, Erica, before we take our next pause. How major is the food industry in America in terms of revenue? How much money is generated from the food profits? That's the first question. The second question is, I remember some time ago that I read that there are really only about 7 to 10 major companies that are responsible for every food that we all consume. It's about just seven large companies like Kraft and all of that stuff that are really in charge of those brands. So, what's the revenue, and how many of those companies, how many companies really control the food situation? Why are you laughing?
That's not my wheelhouse. Like, I can't rattle off statistics around the revenue of food companies.
Okay.
I work.
I'm just asking.
No, I know. It's just not my, honestly, I'm not going to make up something. It's
you could have made up something. That'll be fine.
I won't.
No.
I do think that, and I say this like this because I'm really focused on building the systems that allow people to be able to create their own food reality. So here in Chicago, on the South and West Side, there is a whole community of community growers who are looking at everything from mutual aid, just making sure that there's food growing on the block, that in emergencies and the joy of food, that our elders and our young people have food. And we're talking to within my organization, we cultivate including Green Era, about 21 acres of land within the city. And collectively, there's probably 3,000 gardens in our city. So I think that is much more, that's much more important to me at this point within the work that I do. Because those large food companies and the systems that are connected to and the subsidies and our overall ag system is something that would be its own conversation with. There's people who are much better poised and have the expertise to speak on those things. I could say that my work and the work of Urban Growers Collective is really to create this new generation of growers who are looking at how we can secure our communities in meaningful ways, and not necessarily in toppling those companies. Those companies, everybody is relying on at this point. What's the alternative? And I think as a matter of practice, it's important to think about not only what we want to change, right? We have that as our target. We don't want 7 companies to control the global food system. We want to make sure that we are seeing ourselves in a reality that it's in the best interest of our communities, our families, our communities, our nation, our world, and that the environment that we live in is secured, that we're able to be profitable without exploiting people or the environment. And if companies, whoever they are able to do that, then awesome. That is not the case right now. And so there's an opportunity, and there's a lot of conversations around holding companies that have exploited the environment and people historically to be reckoned and to be part of a transition, a just transition to energy, to making sure our food is safe and healthy, that we're not creating more disease that need to be treated by very expensive pharmaceuticals that are controlled by the same companies. That is what we do. And I don't need to name the companies because there's other people who do it much better than I do. My focus and our focus is on what is the replacement for that. And I think as a matter of practice, we have to all be thinking in that way. We know what doesn't work. We know what we want to change. What do we replace that with? What do we? And I live in a Sankofa mentality, looking backwards. What did we do before? What worked before? What did we have before? Currently, this is where we're at now. Where are we going forward? And reunifying those things in the context of the Black Indigenous consciousness around that generative understanding. And we're living in that now. We're living in an opportunity to really magnify how we work with the earth to benefit all people.
I love that. I love how you're putting that narrative. We're living in an opportunity, because some people will say it's a disparity. We often use the term food insecurity, but you're saying we're living in an opportunity. So I absolutely love that. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation with Erica Allen. Plus, I'm going to get your take on this, crew, as we're talking about cultivating new solutions to food insecurity. So we'll have this discussion on the other side. And let me just throw it out there. Let's introduce our new announcement as we talk about getting prepared for next week's Black Men Summit. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Peace, I'm Farajii Muhammad, host of The Culture. And brothers, we need to talk. There's been much discussion about the state of the Black man in our community, whether it's in politics, education, or in the home. My brothers, we are struggling to lead the way, which is why The Culture will be hosting the Black Men Summit, where we'll be redefining and celebrating Black manhood. This special series will kick off on the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March on Monday, October the 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be talking to some of Black America's most prolific, dynamic, thought-provoking Black men activists, scholars, and leaders about our role, our power, and our future. So tune in and join the conversation as an online culture crew member for The Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. starting Monday, October 16th through Friday, October 20th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time each day, right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've been checking in with Miss Erica Allen, who is the CEO of Urban Growers Collective, which is a Black women-led nonprofit farm operating out of the city of Chicago. So it's doing their part to try to fill in the gaps that food insecurity has created. And Erica is just giving us her take on the role that she thinks UGC and other urban gardening spaces are taking as we're looking at this issue. And crew, I would love to get your take on this, get your questions in. So post your comments as we're streaming right now on YouTube under Roland Martin, and let's continue the conversation. So the couple of things about this, and I want to get a couple of remarks from our culture crew on this, Erica. First, P. Jackson checked in and said, look, I love the idea of urban gardening. What do they do during the winter months?
It's a great question. So in urban agriculture, you have to use our methods are to use hoop houses. So hoop houses are basically, metal kind of an armature with plastic, a special kind of plastic that kind of magnifies solar energy. Unheated hoop houses, we grow kale, collards, sometimes Swiss chard. Our director of farms, Malcolm Evans, he's been experimenting with carrots and beets and overwintering those. So really low-tech methods where we're able to grow food year-round. spinach. We're putting in spinach now. That'll be, prolific in like the spring. We grow some of those crops outside so that we're able to always have food security. And then as you have more resources, you can do vertical production. You can do aquaponics, you can do hydroponics, and use controlled environment to be able to really secure that food and make sure that we always have enough to eat of the kind of nutritional dense food that we want to have a ready supply of.
Awesome. And when we're talking about that level of, hold on, just fixing that. When we're talking about that level of technical support, and I've had a chance to have done, like when I was doing some organizing work back in Baltimore, Erica, I actually worked in a community that did have an urban garden, but it was a very nice space. It was supposed to, it grew a lot of different vegetables. They did not have the armature as you were talking about. It was an open air garden. Mm-hmm. But what's generally the process to kind of start that, especially in areas where people just don't have, access to an open space like that, an open field? Like, can that still be implemented within a community?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that when I started doing the work, I looked at public land. I didn't even try to buy land or try to figure out all of that complexity. I looked at our parks as commons. In Chicago, everybody pays a tax for our public spaces because I really looked at food as being a security measure beyond just having, access, right? Everyone should have access. Food is a human right. But what does it look like to have agency and security within your community within publicly held lands? So that was that's kind of one of the things that during the Growing Power development years, I would recommend to folks who are just starting, contact your parks, see if there's land that's available that can be stewarded while you're building a system that reflects what the community and what you want to see happen to make sure that there is food. The year-round question is critical, especially in climates, and then scaling up. You don't want to have a lot of people, oh yeah, I got the calling, I want to be a farmer, never grown anything. So starting small, starting with a backyard, and then scaling up as you build technical expertise, but also looking at the kind of food system that you're participating in.
Right.
Which definitely, there's so many different ways that people can approach this work.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see. More comments are coming in. McCole checked in and said, community/individuals are going to have to grow their own food. We see what has happened to the food system when corporations took over. Help us to see the vision of this. And I'm using Nicole's comment as a reference on this, Erica, because when we talk about food security, when we're talking about food systems, and then the conversation often starts off with a garden. People like, I can't make the distinction. It's too big. Right. It's mind blowing. Like, you're talking about a garden feeding a whole community of people, but yet we have a food system that needs to be reformed and tweaked. So help us to understand this larger picture.
I mean, I think it's important that we get into the and or, but could be all of the above. So somebody, I think Urban Growers Collective has been really innovative in this embrace of the small and the large, right? So you can start off by growing basil because it's your favorite herb on your windowsill or your porch, because you're just getting just even that little piece. To a raised bed, or they have these bags now where you can get 10 bags, fill them up with topsoil, and grow your favorite vegetables, even on concrete or a side yard. To participating in a community garden, if there's not one on your block, getting together with neighbors and stewarding that space so that when there is a climate pressure, when we have things like the pandemics and folks aren't able to access food, it doesn't show up at the grocery store, places that are already impacted with climate change have seen this, right? You go to the grocery store, there's nothing there. So thinking about it in those terms, and then deciding, where you want to enter. There's so many Black folks who are returning to heirs right property that are moving back to farmland and re-embracing that understanding of the land and its inherent value, literal and cultural value as collateral. If you don't have land, you can't even think about this. That's why I mentioned an urban ag as such a unique approach, because we're kind of shifting a paradigm and thinking about our spaces in different ways. And in, Black and brown communities, indigenous communities of color, low-income communities, we often have a lot of underdeveloped land that's contaminated, and there's not development. These become opportunities for folks to organize around owning that land. We're all moving into cooperative ownership, creating community land trusts where we can secure the land for food, for our health, to do the remediation, and then to do community wealth building. Because, health is wealth. You have the land, you're able to leverage it for other development purposes on behalf of the whole community, not just a few folks. And thinking about how we're stabilizing, often areas of urban cities that still haven't recovered from the 60s, right? So we have this legacy of being able to look at spaces in different ways. We have techniques and ways to literally grow soil from our food waste, to harness the methane that breaks down from that food waste, decomposing for renewable natural gas, and to build really complex systems based on that starting point of just having an interest and a reconnection to growing our own food.
Wow. My sister, Dr. Sarah Williams, you put it out there. Food is a human right. Excellent. I think I would agree with you more. And I know we don't have enough time today, Erica, to kind of get into the details, but folks have been talking about everything from, where to get seeds that are non-genetically modified seeds, to how to make sure, like my sister Nicole said, you need clean land and soil for healthy food growth and cultivation. So there's still a lot that I think a lot of people are trying to learn about this process. As we're talking about the work that you and the other sisters are doing for Urban Growers Collective, what are some resources that folks can go to?
Well, definitely to our website, urbangrowerscollective.org. and greenerachicago.com, just to sort of see what we're doing. In Chicago, there is a new platform called the Community Food Navigator, which is a way that people can find each other on the block. If you're inspired and you're like, yes, I'm going to start getting those seed catalogs and thinking about what I want to grow, open pollinated seeds so that we can save our own seeds. And those seeds, when you save them in the same terrain you're growing, they do adapt to the climate and the growing conditions. So it's really valuable to do that. Partner up with some friends, with family, grow different crops, share seeds, reclaim that. It's part of who we are. It's part of our heritage. And if you don't want to get your fingers dirty, find local farmers, find those urban growers, those urban farmers in your area, and support them. Sign up for their subscriptions, purchase their produce, encourage them. We need them. We need to make sure we have a generation that knows how to grow food and that doesn't just show up on the grocery store on a styrofoam platter covered in plastic and we don't know where it comes from. Or that you don't know that a carrot comes out of the ground and have never had that experience. That is a crime. And we want to make sure that we're not continuing and perpetuating our disconnection from the earth.
That is right there. Erica Allen, CEO of Urban Growers Collective. Folks, you can find them online on social media. There's the website right there. Cultivating Pathways to Freedom Through Food and Healing. Erica, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
Thanks for the great question.
Absolutely. You're welcome. And, we look forward to reconnecting with you again.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about what is going on with Morgan State University. As the HBCU said, they want to put up a barrier to prevent, more harmful acts to students. However, It's been reported that they were going to post a wall. But then when you look at it, they say, no, it's not a wall, it's something else. I'm going to share with you the latest controversy around the HBCU and talk and ask the question, is this going to be enough to keep our students safe? So we'll have that conversation up next. So stay with us. There's still a lot to get to in the next half of the show right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Peace, I'm Farajii Muhammad, host of The Culture. And brothers, we need to talk. There's been much discussion about the state of the Black man in our community, whether it's in politics, education, or in the home. My brothers, we are struggling to lead the way, which is why The Culture will be hosting the Black Men Summit, where we'll be redefining and celebrating Black manhood. This special series will kick off on the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March on Monday, October the 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be talking to some of Black America's most prolific, dynamic, thought-provoking Black men activists, scholars, and leaders about our role, our power, and our future. So tune in and join the conversation as an online culture crew member for The Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Starting Monday, October 16th through Friday, October 20th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time each day, right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Big shout out to Erica Allen of Urban Growers Collective for that great conversation about food insecurity. Folks, make sure y'all tune in to the show each and every day. If you missed the first hour, first half of the show, You can go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com. You can download the app for free. And of course, follow us on social media. But the big thing is to support us, as we are a people-driven network. That's right, folks. So your support powers this digital movement and this digital space that we find ourselves in. And we want to keep the power going. So your support means everything. Again, go to blackstarnetwork.com to give. Folks, also, we're streaming live right now on 2 social media platforms, on Facebook right now and on a YouTube page. Go to Roland Martin's YouTube page. We're streaming there. That's where you can find the illustrious, the all famous Culture Crew. And that's where you'll find the conversations that we need to have with folks all around the country and, of course, some parts of the world. So big shout out to my online Culture Crew for always being there and being supportive of the work that we do. All right, let's talk about Morgan State University, which is one of our great HBCUs in my hometown of Baltimore, Maryland. And something that is happening there, as there has been a new report that has come out to say that Morgan is looking to build a wall. Can we look at the, Elise and Chris, let's pull up the highlights. Before this, let's go back to the, I want y'all to see what happened here. Let's look at the headline. If we could pull up that link for that story. This is coming from NBC News, folks, around Morgan State University. They're planning to build a wall. According to the report from NBC News, Morgan State University leaders announced Tuesday they plan to build a wall around most of the Northeast Baltimore campus and station security personnel at entrances and exits. The wall would extend existing barriers by about 8,000 feet or 2,400 meters to encircle 90% of campus and effectively eliminate unfettered access, according to University President Dr. David Wilson said during a campus town hall. He said, "We're doing this, let me be clear, not to keep out our neighbors and our community writ large. We are doing it to keep out the bad actors." This is what he told an auditorium filled with students, faculty, and staff of the HBCU. Now, folks, Dr. Wilson has put it out there that they're building this wall. I saw this and I'm thinking to myself, a wall? What does that mean? What does that look like? I mean, there's a lot of questions that you were asked. Well, Dr. Wilson had to go back onto his social media page and he had to clarify some things, but I don't know if it really reached the amount of people that this major news story from NBC actually reached, where the doctor pointed out that he's not talking about a quote unquote physical wall, folks, in the sense of what you would normally believe. Like when we're talking about a wall, I'm thinking about a large structure that has no holes in it, a solid piece of concrete or something. He said in his Facebook post, "Calm down. We are simply extending this barrier fence, which has been in place for years at Morgan, to now enclose more of the campus. This is not the kind of wall, quote unquote, that a few people think it will be." Lisa, let's show the picture of the fencing around this. This is what Dr. Wilson had essentially is talking about, taking a space like that and putting up fences. Now, here's my thing, folks. Here's my thing. This ain't no wall. That's a fence. So one, let's be very clear. That ain't no wall. That's a fence. Now, if you want to make it a taller fence, is one thing. If you want to extend the fence, is another thing. But this ain't no damn wall. Okay? So let's just be clear that it is very important that we get the language right. Because when I think of a wall, at least let's go back to the previous picture. Y'all see at the bottom? Look, let's go back. Y'all see at the bottom of each one of these pictures where the fences are actually, like right there. You see the little wood cobblestones along at the bottom? I'm thinking a wall like that, folks. But the Morgan president said, look, no, that's not the case. We're looking at extending the fence. Okay, fine. Even though there have been some people who have said on social media that they don't mind actually having a wall, a structure that is filled in, no holes in it, that's filled in with concrete. And I want to get your take on this, folks. I do want to get your take on this. This idea of putting up some sort of barrier around one of our HBCUs. Of course, he revealed this plan during, as I mentioned earlier, around the campus town hall meeting. So what do you think? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Here, and let's ask the bigger and more important question. Is this going to stop people from coming onto campus and committing violence? That's the question. Is this going to stop folks from coming onto campus and committing violence? Or are we deluding ourselves in a situation? Robin, you checked in and said, don't call it a wall. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. When I put it on my social media earlier today, people were like, that's crazy, boom, boom, boom. And then some folks was like, Farajii, Dr. Wilson had clarified, he said that it's a fence, that this is the fence wall. I've never heard of a fence wall. I'm gonna be honest with you now. If this is the fence wall, I don't think that this is enough, folks. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think that this is enough. Let's just throw the pictures up there. You can take me off the frame, please. Look at this. Is this enough to stop somebody from causing harm to students at Morgan or to anybody? If this was a school, just a random school, do you think this would be enough? Is this enough? Is this delusional? Are we thinking just like, because I know people who can get over fences, right? All right, that's one thing. But even more so, I'm a little concerned, folks, that we're kind of missing the big picture of what this thing is really about. I'm concerned. And I want to get your take on this, crew. You share with me, and y'all share with me. Are you feeling concerned? Do you think this is enough? Moet 131, you said, I see nothing wrong with that. Are you speaking of the current fence? Or are you talking about this idea of building a wall? Moet 131, Moet, just clarify, because I don't want to assume. So please clarify. Are you saying you see nothing wrong with the current fence and extending that fencing? Or do you not see anything wrong with building an actual wall? You let me know. Robin, you said, don't call it a wall. I'm with you. Cindy D, you said, that's what I said, Robin. Don't call it a wall. Absolutely. Conscious Thought, you said, bad idea. Morgan State University does not need a wall. From my limited reading and experience, increased lighting, better roving security patrols, surveillance, would be better deterrents to criminal activity. I like that. I like that. I think you're right on to something, Conscious. Bro, I think you're right on to something. That's what I feel. I feel like, and I asked this question on my social media, and I said, I wonder what other measures have been considered before coming to this decision. Because I feel like we often kind of get into the space, and I get it. Look, if people, I could only imagine being in the footsteps or in the shoes of Dr. Wilson, that you had a major situation happening on homecoming weekend when you're talking about, donors, you're talking about students and their families, you're talking about faculty members, you're talking about community members, 5 people getting shot. And it creates a lot of panic. It creates a lot of emotional, like, oh, okay, jumping to conclusions. But is this going to really stop? So what you're saying, Conscious Thought, I think is something that really needs to be considered, and maybe considered for a lot of HBCUs. I don't know, like when you have the Clark Atlantas and all of those schools, the Spelmans and all of that down in Atlanta, how their structure, how their security measures are set up. We know that there was just a recent shooting at Bowie's homecoming just over this past weekend. 2 people were shot there, right? So I'm wondering, is this going to be enough? So great point. You don't like my music. Exactly, Farajii. We are deluding ourselves. Walls don't work. They just make some of us feel better. Ooh. Walls don't work. They just make some of us feel better. Do we have to feel like there's a sense of security? Which I understand. Maybe, and this is what I suggested. I suggested maybe we should do community policing. And I know that we have a lot of different images or a lot, what does that mean? What does that actually look like? We would have to figure that out. We could do student mediation. That was another suggestion I brought up, that if there's a situation or beef that's brewing, that students go and help to handle and to kind of resolve the situation. I don't know. I mean, so there are some other, I think there are some other measures on the table. Cindy D, you said the problem is that all the walls don't control other people's behavior. Come on, Cindy. This is why I love y'all, man. Look, you want to change crime in this country, you got to change the way people think. Can we start there? Like, yes, we can talk about more policing. Yes, we can talk about physical limitations and barriers. But the real crime prevention starts with changing the thinking of an individual. There we go. The ABX girls, you said colleges and universities had barriers set up in New York City for years, but that fence for Morgan, nah, won't work. ABX girl, I would love to know, were there any major issues that came up for those schools in New York City? Let me know. Great point. Great comment. Robert Whitaker, Robin, you said, are you going to jail or college? Look, I think if we go through any schools, and I'm talking about not colleges, if you go to your local high school, go to some high schools in certain parts of the biggest city next to you, whether you live in New York, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, whatever, and see how they're structured. Some of them buildings look like prison. They have little to no windows in the main building. They got high, these like 9-10 foot fences. They don't have barbed wire at the top of it, thank goodness. But it looks similar. It looks very similar. And Moet, you clarify, you said, Farajii, I see nothing wrong with either one, but I don't think it's enough. So you don't have a problem with a large fence or an actual wall, but you still don't think it's enough. I appreciate that. Great, I appreciate that. Zena Allen, you said, if someone has it in their mind to do something, not a fence or a wall or a closed door will stop them. Come on, y'all. Come on. Now, I think that is very true. And Zena and folks, I want to get your take on this. Like, what do we talk about here? I don't know. Because it might be a situation that, say you build the structure, you build a tall fence, you build the wall, and so somebody still is able to get in, cause harm, and now they can't find a way to get out. And there could be an opportunity to cause more harm because they can't find a way to get out. I don't know. Janelle, thank you so much, Zena, for that point. Janelle checked in, and you said fences and locks are for innocent people. Folks with malice on their mind don't care about short fences and locks. Evil finds a way. This proposal is performative. Security can be improved. Performative. Wow. Robert Levold, Janelle, thank you so much. Robert, you said it's a start to protecting the HBCU students. We have to remember that HBCU schools don't get the type of money that PWI, predominantly white institution schools. Starting somewhere is better than starting nowhere. Okay. I would like to start, I don't know. Do we send the wrong message, Robert, when we start talking about building more fortified structures? Are we sending the wrong message to the students, to the staff? Like, if you came to a college tour and you saw these big fences, big walls, would that turn you off? Would it make you question the safety of the space? Like, how do we preserve that? Because these shootings don't happen every year. Let's keep that real. Let's put that out there. This is not a yearly thing. Every time homecoming happens, there's a shooting. This is not one of them things. It's just that when it does happen, it just jolts people out of their complacency. And guess what? In normalcy. And so to the point where we're like, we need to do something. Now, growing up in Baltimore, I've experienced these constant things, like some of these things. And like I said, I mentioned this before, things could happen around Morgan State, not directly on campus, but it's attributed to some way, shape, or form. It's linked to Morgan State. So, you might be like shooting at Morgan, even those 2 blocks up. And I think this happens at a lot of HBCUs or Black schools and things like that. It's just a bad narrative for the places that we like to learn in. Look, I'm gonna take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation on the other side. Morgan State saying they're not building a wall, they're gonna be building a fence. Do you still think it's a good idea or bad idea? As they try to search for solutions to stop the violence for students on campus. Stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side here on the Black Star Network, here on The Culture. Stay with me. Peace, I'm Farajii Muhammad, host of The Culture. And brothers, we need to talk. There's been much discussion about the state of the Black man in our community, whether it's in politics, education, or in the home. My brothers, we are struggling to lead the way, which is why The Culture will be hosting the Black Men Summit, where we'll be redefining and celebrating Black manhood. This special series will kick off on the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March on Monday, October the 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be talking to some of Black America's most prolific, dynamic, thought-provoking Black men activists, scholars, and leaders about our role, our power, and our future. So tune in and join the conversation as an online culture crew member for the Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Starting Monday, October 16th through Friday, October 20th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time each day, right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been talking about Morgan State University's attempt to try to curb the violence as a result of that shooting that happened over their homecoming weekend just a couple of weeks ago, where 5 people were shot and wounded, but they did not suffer from any type of fatal injuries. As a result of that, there's been much conversation about the safety and protection of Black students, particularly at HBCUs, where we find that a lot of our HBCUs are in neighborhoods that are not in rough neighborhoods. Morgan is not in a rough neighborhood. Let me just say that, but are in have an open air approach where you have security on Morgan, for example. You have like the security booths, but they do have fence. They have a fence that only covers about 10% of the campus or so, about a little bit less than 10% of the campus. But after this homecoming shooting that wounded 5, the president announced on Tuesday that the leadership of Morgan has decided to build a wall, or rather a larger fence, extending the fence. Lisa, show those pictures once again of what the fencing would currently look like. Here's the fence right now, folks. Here's the fence right now. This is along Hillen, and they are saying that it only covers just a very small part of the campus, but they're looking to have fencing that covers 90% of the campus, where you can control, as the president said, unfettered access. Many of you are saying that this may not be the solution. There needs to be a solution, but this may not be it. Let me go back to you, crew, and hear what you got to say as we're streaming live on YouTube under Roland Martin. You can join us in the conversation as well. We're asking, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Do you think this will change or at least prevent some violence from happening, especially at a school like like Morgan State University? And let's think of not just of Morgan. Let's think of any one of our HBCUs. Like I said, I've been down to Atlanta. I've seen where Clark Atlanta is. I've seen where Spelman is. I don't remember seeing any type of wall barrier structure. So y'all got to tell me, for those who are in that area, is there one there? Let's talk about what could potentially happen on Florida's HBCUs. Are there barriers? Are there structures down there? Any HBCU, or does this put HBCUs in a very vulnerable position where they don't have the protection that it needs? All right, let me go back to what you got to say, Janelle. You said this sounds like a token being thrown out to soothe the masses. Ooh, I hope not. I really hope not. Namre Oboye. Namre, you said, in a proverbial sense, this wall can be a combination of current technology and manpower. And I'm not understanding, and maybe that's part of the conversation, but I'm thinking, like, are we sure that there are these other measures, these other alternatives for a safer campus have been truly explored? Or is this like rush to type judgment type of thing? Thank you so much for your post, Namre. Landon Turner, you said to change the way people think, they have to recognize a change needs to be made. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would agree with you, bro. Thank you so much for checking in. P. Jackson, you said the fence would slow them down or force them to go through the main gate, but adding cameras and community policing is definitely needed. So maybe we need to think about that. What does that look like? What does that mean? I saw Dr. Stacy Patton, who is a professor at Morgan State University. She threw it out there, and I put it on my social media. She said, well, we need to hire the brothers from the Nation of Islam, the FOI. She put that out there, saying that level of community engagement, that level of that might be something. I don't know if that would work. I don't know if that would dispel students. I don't know how folks would feel about that. But it may not necessarily be from the nation. Maybe brothers from the nation would train other brothers and train students on how to do security. We will have to see. That is certainly something to think about. Robin Welch, you say critical thinking is essential, especially now. We are dealing with horrific times right now. Yes, great point. Taking a moment to just breathe and take a quick pause This has been a crazy situation and crazy moment, but I think that at the end of the day, that we do need to figure out, like, okay, what's the best course of action here? What would work and what wouldn't work? Mo at 131, you made the point, because I was talking about which one you think that would be a great idea. You first posted it, said, I see nothing wrong with either one, either having a fence or a wall, but I don't think it's enough. Okay. And you further said, Moet, nothing is 100% guaranteed, but got to start somewhere. And maybe it's with a wall fence. Maybe. And I think that we have to kind of think about that, because there's a lot of again, it's like, if you were a child, or if you were a parent rather, and you're bringing your child to this situation, like, would you feel comfortable? How would you feel if you pulled up to Morgan State University and you saw this fence? How would you feel? What about if students are the ones responsible for this situation, right? So instead of it would be outsiders, but it's insiders that are the responsible. That would hurt. That would be worse. ABX girl, when I talked about you mentioned a point earlier about certain schools in New York City having certain structures like walls and fences, and I asked you, well, have there been any issues or incidents that came up? You said there has been some assaults, but on average, universities in red states have more assaults and no campus shootings in New York City. It's just a security issue, like going into the office or even the club. Yeah. So does it sound like, are we making this a big deal? Like, I know that this is important, but because it doesn't happen quite as often, should there be, this effort to secure the campus? Because it doesn't happen that quite as often. Are we making a big deal? ABX girl, I appreciate you for posting that. Keisha Poole, you said there is no problem with improving or extending the current barrier, but I do think it's going to stop, but I don't think it's going to stop anything. What it has the potential to do is deter people from doing things. So it gives you the impression that there is safety. Is that what I'm understanding from you, Keisha? Let me know. Because if you're just giving the impression like this is a safe campus, this place is secure, we're not going to do anything. I think that if you have the campus police, if you have some students that are empowered to serve in a security capacity, I think if you have more cameras, I think if you have more lights, I think all of those things will create the sense that this is a safe campus. Can you prevent crime from happening 100% of the time? Absolutely not. But I think if you incorporate a little bit of the human capital with some technology and just some things that students, like, have these major gatherings, like these major assemblies for the students, and say, hey, look, we've been under, campuses can be unsafe sometimes. Here's what you should do. Here's what some of the things you can do. Here's the nearest phone. At Morgan State University, they have the police phone, the campus police phone. So you can go there and just pick up the phone and be able to get in touch. But empower the students. I feel like sometimes when we do have moments like this, like the simple things sometimes go under our heads or over our heads or just under the radar. And the fact that you got to empower students. And if the students say, oh, I don't want it, that's one thing. But if students are showing up in droves and saying, look, tell me how I can keep myself, my friends, and stay safe on campus, empower the students, empower the women, empower the brothers, empower the students with knowledge and some guidance on what they can do if they see a situation coming out. If they got games, this is how you should move. If they have a homecoming, this is what should happen. Empower the student. If you see someone on campus, you don't have to approach them, but this is what you should do. Empower the students. Maybe give them a hotline or something. I'm just throwing out some ideas. Landon Turner, you said, oh, see, now a fence ain't preventing much of anything. LOL. It may. I'm not saying it's completely crazy. I'm just asking, is it a good idea? Is it worth the investment to fence 90% of the campus? Malcolm Williams, you said, I'm not sure what the answer is, but certainly they need to consider a better screening process with an open campus policy. Absolutely. I agree with you on that one, Malcolm. Thank you. The HBCU college here in Atlanta, does have a wall around it, and there are gates, the guard gates the students have to go through. So Anastasia, you're saying in Atlanta, HBCUs do have a wall. Is it a physical wall? At least maybe we can find some pictures of that. Because let me know if we can find some pictures of the schools in Atlanta. I want to know, is it like a physical wall? Like you gotta walk around and you can't climb over it type of wall. Is it a physical wall, Anastasia? Let me know. Who else we got here? Let me see. Jeanette Davis, you said, our school has experienced great trauma. Will a wall help? I don't know. I think we all want to see something happen, right? I just don't want more money to be spent on something that's just window shopping and not substantive. Thank you, Jeanette, for posting your comment. Denise Colbert, you said, protect our students, protect our future, collaborative effort. Let's figure this out. Absolutely. Absolutely. McCole Lewis, you checked in and said, I used to go to Morgan and the campus is so beautiful. Very beautiful, McCole. Very, very beautiful. It would really change the look of the campus. I definitely understand, though. So you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Folks, this is one of those things that I think it requires some new ideas, right? I think it's so, again, slowing it down and saying, all right, what can we do? What's the thing? Because I would hate for another situation like this to happen by one. But imagine if you invest in some type of security measure and then it still doesn't really prevent anything. Then people are going to be like, well, what about that money? And what was that purpose? What was the point of doing that? And all of those things. So we're going to have to see. Dr. Wilson made the clarification. It's a fence. It's not a wall. But we will have to see how this situation hangs on. And here's the thing. I think it would be an awesome idea if other schools, it doesn't have to be an HBCU, it could be a PWI. What do other schools do? What were some of the things that they done? Now, I know HBCUs don't get the same type of money as PWIs and all of that stuff, but maybe looking at it, what do other schools, what have they done to address this issue? And maybe we can kind of use some best practices from there and bring it into HBCUs. But we will have to certainly see how this thing moves forward. Look, I got to take another quick pause. We're going to shift gears. I got a big story for you. Really an update. This is a very sad update, but I want to get your take on this as we talk about the student. Y'all remember the student down in Texas who was suspended for his hair being too long and not fitting the code of conduct down in Texas? I'm going to share with you now the latest development in that story. So stay with me. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Peace, I'm Farajii Muhammad, host of The Culture. And brothers, we need to talk. There's been much discussion about the state of the Black man in our community, whether it's in politics, education, or in the home. My brothers, we are struggling to lead the way, which is why The Culture will be hosting the Black Men Summit, where we'll be redefining and celebrating Black manhood. This special series will kick off on the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March on Monday, October the 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be talking to some of Black America's most prolific, dynamic, thought-provoking Black men activists, scholars, and leaders about our role, our power, and our future. So tune in and join the conversation as an online culture crew member for The Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Starting Monday, October 16th through Friday, October 20th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time each day, right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
To The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We talked about the situation with Morgan possibly looking at installing a new fence, some sort of outside barrier to cover campus. But I saw a couple of more of what you had to say, crew, around this issue. Rambling Man, I see you making us a couple of comments saying maybe Black parents actually properly raise their children. That is a long-term situation. That is not something that is going to happen overnight. A lot of Black parents do raise their children to be decent human beings. There's only a small number of Black parents who don't have the capacity or the love or the skill set to do that. So, but that's a bigger conversation. That is something totally different. It's not like, oh, we raise Black parents. If Black parents do it today, the children are going to be better tomorrow. That is a long-term investment. But we're talking about in the short term, like what will happen between now and the time of homecoming next year or the next incident. We don't know. We don't know. And so, you know, I think your comment is you're putting blame on the Black parents. Let's just be this clear. No Black parent is teaching their children to be shooters and killers and drug dealers. And if you have parents like that, trust me, even if you have parents that have been in that life, do you know the small amount of folks who are encouraged that among their children, folks? Come on, let's keep it real. Come on, Rambler, talk to me. Let's keep this real. No Black parents is teaching her, oh, you know what? When you grow up, I want you to be a menace to society. Who does that? Who's doing that? A lot of Black parents, if the children are going in a wayward direction, it's not because I truly don't believe it's because they didn't have love in the home or somebody in their family didn't love them. Somebody. Now, if you get to that age of 17, 18, 19, 20, let me just tell y'all something, folks. Let's just keep it real. You know the difference between right and wrong when you're as young as 3 years old. When you're told not to touch that cookie or to touch the stove or something. You know the difference between right and wrong. let's not make excuses for people's choices, right? Let's just deal with that situation for what it is. Yes, we could talk about trauma. Yes, we could talk about dysfunction. Yes, we could talk about, certain parents not in the household. But at the end of the day, once you get to 17, 18 years old, you know the difference between right and wrong. Nobody is telling you, has to tell you, hey, put down that gun. Nobody has to tell you that. Hey, don't shoot your brother. Nobody shouldn't have to tell you that. You should just, that's between, right and wrong. Because if you was right, you wouldn't be running when the gun is shot. If you were so right, if you were just so affirmed in your stance, then why are you running? Because you know it's wrong. You know you violated. You know you broke the law. So I don't like these conversations, especially when it comes to Black youth. Like Black youth don't know what's going on. Black youth know exactly what they're doing. I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I grew up in Baltimore. We heard about violence all the time. After a while, it's like, come on. I get it. Parents are, trust me, I'm not dismissing any of those other things. But you mean to tell me you can't, that if we're not teaching our children the difference between making a choice and feeling like you are, quote unquote, have to be a product of the environment, so therefore you're so influenced by your environment that you cannot make a choice between what's right and what's wrong. Come on. Then we're doing ourselves and not just our children a disservice. Yeah, checking in with y'all, seeing what folks are saying. Rambling Man, you said you only want racial topics to work one way. We're Black, we're victims, give us more stuff. No, it's not that. It's not that we're Black, we're victims. Look, I'm totally against victimization. You know what I'm saying? At this point in 2023, do we really have some excuse? I mean, just think about this, y'all. In 2023, what excuse do Black people have to say as to why we're not moving or making the progress that we want to make in our individual lives and in our collective life as a people? What excuse? What are you going to say? Oh, we didn't have no one to teach us better. Oh, we didn't have opportunities. No. Oh, we didn't have the technology. What excuse? I'm talking about on a fundamental, simple level, folks. We have someone is in our home, in our families, in our community. There's always, and this is what I truly believe, no one gets through life without having at least one or two voices of reason. God does not allow life to happen without having some voices of reasons present in our lives in some way, shape, or form to make sure that we stay on the right track. Now, whether we listen to those voices of reason, that's a different part of the discussion. But you can't say that if you didn't have a coach, if your parents weren't there, then you had the grandparents. If your grandparents weren't there, you had your aunts and uncles. If your aunts and uncles weren't there, you were adopted. Okay, if your adopted parents weren't there, like all these people, teachers, coaches, neighbors, counselors, right? Somebody has shared with you, instilled within you something of good, something of valuable that you could hold on to. If you decided that your life was going to go down a certain path, a more destructive path, don't tell me I didn't have no other choice. No, you did have a choice. You chose for your life to go down a destructive path. Come on now. I mean, let's keep it real. You're choosing this stuff. We can never break out of this mental shackled thinking if we always believe that we don't have any power to choose. I was talking to my brother, and I'm going to have this brother on the show. He's part of the Black Men Summit. His name is Zentola. He's a spiritual healer here in LA. He's from Baltimore. And when my conversation with him, I can't wait to bring him on. He's going to be one of the voices on Monday as we talk about Black men in faith and spirituality. And he makes the point, he said that, he told me one time, he said, Farajii, we oftentimes believe that we have no choices as Black people, that we're just doomed by the system, by the circumstance that we're in, by this condition that we find ourselves in. But he said, do you know we do have a choice? I know people, and I'm sure each one of y'all know somebody who had insurmountable odds to overcome, but they chose differently. They chose to overcome those odds. They chose to go to school, and it might be you. You chose to say, you know what, my parents came from this type of humble beginnings or crazy beginnings or dysfunctional beginnings, but I'm choosing differently. I'm planning to go to school. I'm planning to go to college. I'm planning to make something of myself, right? We had made those intentional choices. How come some people can make those intentional choices and then some other folks is just like, I couldn't make the choice. When some of us who did make those intentional choices came from worse situations than those who didn't make those choices. So it's a choice, folks. And this is not some old, don't think of this as some old bougie, black, elitist type of thinking. No, this is not that. It's talking about let's getting out of victimization and let's get into a space of power. We can make those choices. Young black people make the choice. I don't care if you're 15 years old. You know that. You know that. When y'all were 15, when I was 15, when we did dumb stuff, something was in the back of our head. We had that little voice in our head that said, you know what, we shouldn't have done that. We knew that what the consequences would be. Don't act like, oh no, I didn't know. No, you did know. You chose not to listen to that God voice, that God consciousness that told you, hey, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be hanging with this friend. Nah, whatever. And then when you got in trouble, nobody taught me better. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Listen, trust me, I'd say this to my 10-year-old son. Like, son, you know better. And you know how 10-year-olds are. He'd be like, Daddy, I didn't know. And I'd be like, son, you didn't know? So 10 years of life, 10 years of hanging out with me, this guy, with your mother, you mean you didn't know between right and wrong? Then he gets me that look, y'all, like, yeah, you knew. You knew. You chose not to know, but you knew. Oh man. Let me say something. Jeanette, you said, I totally agree with you, brother Farajii. Even children have to live with the choices they make. They know right from wrong, but the temptations involved are worth the gamble to them. And that's it. That's what we're teaching them. They think you can do that. You can go out there and be in the streets and do all of that stuff, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to suffer the consequences. I remember my mother and my father telling me this, like, look, we try to do the best that we can. We taught you right. We exposed you to great teachers. If you want to go out there and be a fool, that's on you. But check this out, buddy. Don't expect them to put up the house to get you out of jail. I was like, oh, mom's just playing. And then I sat down and thought about it. She was like, no, I'm very serious. We're not putting up the house. I'm not doing this. There was a boundary that was established in that conversation. The boundary is either you grow up, right? Learn how to live with your choices, or you suffer the consequences. That's it. That's what it comes down to. All right, let's talk about this really quickly. Robin, you said let's talk about the hair issue really quick. Robin, you said let's talk about this young man. This is a real quick thing, folks, and then we're gonna end the show. But I think it's absolutely insane that this is even happening. This is the young man. Y'all remember this brother down in Texas where he went to a school down in Barbers Hill, and it's so funny. There he is, Barbers Hill. This is Daryl George, 18 years old. He's a junior at Barbers Hill High School in Mont Bellevue. He's been suspended since August the 31st because he had a situation with his hair being too long and not in accordance with the code of conduct. So it was reported by NBC News that he will be sent to EPIC, which is an alternative school program from October 12th so starting today through the 29th for quote unquote failure to comply with multiple campus and classroom regulations, the principal said in a Wednesday letter provided to the Associated Press by the family. According to the principal, Lance Murphy, they wrote that Daryl George has repeatedly violated the district's previously communicated standards of student conduct. The letter also says that George will be allowed to return to regular classroom instructions on November 30th, but will not be allowed to return to his high school's campus until then, unless he's there to discuss his conduct with school administrators. Are you serious? They put this young brother in a alternative school, folks. Alternative school because he didn't cut his hair. Look at his hair, beautiful his hair is. Well groomed. He got to go through all of this. This is what's happening in America. This is what's happening. But look, even though Daryl George is in this position, that does not mean that if he decided, say, to wild out on an administrator or something, I'm just throwing this out there, not saying he should or anything like that, but if he decided to rebel in some way, shape, or form, that would be a choice. He has a choice of kind of being this martyr, right? He has a choice to kind of, you know what? They're trying to break me, because that's essentially what they're doing. They're trying to break this little brother for something he simply wants to do in terms of expressing his personal, himself. And really, he's taken the heat for a lot of Black boys and Black girls who want to express themselves. So the situation also, y'all remember that his mom also had, Derisha George, she had also filed a lawsuit against the Barber Hill Independent School District. She had filed a lawsuit. It was a formal complaint with the Texas Education Agency and a federal civil rights lawsuit against the state's governor and attorney general, alleging they failed to enforce a new law outlawing discrimination based on hairstyles. This is based on the Crown Act. The family had alleged that George's suspension and subsequent discipline violates the state's own Crown Act, which took effect September 1st. And so the Crown Act, of course, is that law that's intended to prohibit race-based hair discrimination and bars employers and schools from penalizing people because of their texture or protective hairstyles, including afros, braids, dreadlocks, twists, or bantu knots. The school also filed a lawsuit in state district court asking a judge to clarify whether it's a dress code restricting, limiting student hair length for boys violates the Crown Act. The lawsuit was filed in Chambers County, east of Houston, and now it looks like they are in a legal battle, but he still will have to at least go to school for the time being at this alternative school. What's your take? What's your take? What would you do? This is racism, folks. ABX girls, you said people need to stop moving to these towns and going to these schools. My brother, big brother Willie Frazier. You said shout out to the most intelligent, deep thinking, understanding, the most politically astute people in America, the culture, RMU family, Nubians. Thank you, brother Willie. You also said that's it. They know they are about to pay out that money. Don't worry about that way to it. Don't worry about the way to it, brother. About to get paid. He about to get paid. Boy, don't bring Ben Crump down there, brother Willie. I think he's actually is on the case, actually, to be honest with you. Robin Welch, you said the Crown Act is legal in that state. You cannot discriminate because of his hair. Let me ask you a question, Robin. So, has everybody always followed the law, even though they're supposed to uphold the law? No. Robin, you also said, I wouldn't go back to that school. This is shameful. I wouldn't go back to the school either. But I sue the pants off of that district, boy. I'm telling you, they would have, that district would be called from Barbers Hill to Farajii Muhammad School District of Power or something. Y'all hear me? I sue the pants off of them, boy. Fire everybody. You are not a victim. You say we have to break the generational curse of victimhood. We have power. Absolutely. Absolutely. We are looking at a situation here that is just crazy. But again, this little brother, Daryl George, 18 years old, his mom, Derisha George, she's going through this process. They got Black folks around them. They got men around them and all of that. But they're going through this process. But they're trying to make a little example of our little brother. And I hope and pray that he stays strong in the midst of all of this madness that the school district. And the crazy part is, I would be going after the principal, like going after his neck. How are you a principal that you're in the business of cultivating, elevating, and creating the space for student expression, and you're that damn hung up on a piece of hair? Jeanette, you said racism should be challenged everywhere we find it. Sue them and leave. Yeah, how about that? How about that? I would not put them back in there, because guess what? Can we really expect people that hate us to educate us? I mean, in this case, they hate you. They hate your expression. They hate the color of your skin. They hate the way you are shaped, your face is shaped. They hate the very ground you walk on. They hate you. That's how much. It's deep. It's deep. They hate you. And they hate the fact that you are unbreakable. They try to break your spirit. Only down in Texas, right, y'all? If y'all down in Texas, make sure y'all show some love to Daryl George and that little brother. I don't know how far Barber Hills is from Houston or some of the, but look, man, make sure y'all show some. Look at this. Hair is beautiful done, man. I remember I had a hairstyle like that just a few months, like a few weeks ago, actually. Hair is beautiful, man. But you're putting all this little brother, see, and this is why, you know, look at that. Look at the artistry and the creativity. And it's done up in such a way, and they say it's a violation. Hate them. Pauline, you said, what is the name of the school? It's the Barber Hill. Let me see here. I think it's funny because they're talking about hair, but the name of the school is Barbers Hill High School in Mont Bellevue. Barbers Hill High School in Mont Bellevue. If I was down in Texas, I'd try to figure out, like, yo, who's the person that's the political representative down here? You know what I'm saying? I don't get it either. Kathleen, you say he is making an example out of them. Absolutely. Let's close this out. And also, Kathleen, you say they hate your hair. ABX girl, you said 2 other students left the school for the same reason in 2022. Well, you know what? I know Black folks, I know we like to stay vigilant. We like to stand our ground and all of those things. But sometimes you don't. If this is what my parents taught me, folks, as we close this out. If they don't want you there, don't be there. If they don't want you in this space, don't be there. You ain't got to make no point. Make no bones about it. If they don't want you there, don't fight to go back to be there. That's it. That's it. But trust and believe, your story is not going to be forgotten. And every other student at Barbers Hill and Mount Bellevue is going to remember that story. It's going to know that story. And trust and believe, we might hear about this again. Later on this year, might be next year, but it's going to come up again. But if they don't want you there, don't be there. Willie, you said a Texas congresswoman was there in the school going at the principal. Why don't they fire the principal? Why don't they fire the principal? So we will certainly keep our eyes open on that, but certainly it's another development in an ongoing case. But again, this little brother, hope he's standing his ground in the sense that he's not allowing his spirit to be broken as a result of this. And we hope and pray for the family, but this is real contentious down there because of a piece of hair. Very contentious. I can't believe that the school and the district is going so hard about some hair. I bet you those books are old as shit. Probably old as dirt. They probably don't even have good classrooms. They probably don't have the most updated infrastructure or equipment. Please. Y'all talking about some hair. Only in America. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. Make sure y'all tune in tomorrow. We're going to have some dope discussions, checking in with my sister Corinna Denise on as we do on Fridays. Monday, of course, is the big day. We're going to have some of that great special programming as the Black Men Summit will officially be kicking off on the Day of Atonement. And I told you about one person that's going to be there. I'm going to drop some jewels. I'm going to just let you know all next week we got special guests. We got some special guests coming through. Having some dope conversations about the state of the Black man. I cannot wait to have these discussions with you. Please tell your friends and family. I'm dropping we're going to be dropping the new promo on our social media. within the next day. But just let your friends and family as part of the crew, just put the word out, let people know. 4 o'clock p.m. is when this kicks off, and we're going to have these dope conversations. But I appreciate all of the support, all of the love that I've been receiving on social media around this idea. And more importantly, I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in to this show each and every day as you've been doing. Also want to thank my team. I want to thank Joe, Shannon, Maddie, Chris, Lisa, and my man King Keenan for making this show possible and making this show happen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And of course, Big Brother Roland Martin for the space and the place on this platform. All right, folks, make sure y'all do your due diligence. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com, blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media. And of course, your support makes all the difference in the world. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Give a little something to help power this movement. And let's continue to drive the conversation and shape the narratives about what's going on in Black America. And we thank you for your ongoing support. Stay tuned. Up next at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Roland Martin Unfiltered. Always remember this. Never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will reconnect tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture. Right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great evening. Peace.